exciting. Right, but I cannot see you here in the screen there.
Just make it a bit bigger.
Oh, really cool. We can see all the viewers up the top.
Nice. Sweet. Are we actually live or?
Okay.
Yes, we're live.
Perfect. Nice.
All right. Well, we better introduce ourselves then.
Yes.
I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Nice. So I'm Kasia.
I'm Luis.
And so we are a Liveaboard family living on a catamaran, 40-foot catamaran with a little daughter and a dog, a 50-kilo Rhodesian Ridgeback. And basically we have recently started inviting crew aboard, and we started this little project to help people find crew and the boarders out there to find.
Yeah, but we tried everything out there, and it was a bit hectic and difficult to.
So we just started the project a while ago, probably beginning of the summer, and getting so much great positive feedback out there that we just continue with it, and that's how we met you, because we reached out to you, and you gave us some great feedback, great ideas, and that's how we met. And what about you, Cherie?
Yeah, that's great. What about me? I'm going to throw it back at me.
Yeah.
So, hi, I'm Cherie. Paul and I and our 3 kids, we live on board a 58-foot schooner.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Bruce Roberts design. It's not a catamaran. I think we're the only one in our sailing tribe that is on a monohull. So we go a little bit slower, but we can carry a lot more gear. So that's always a good thing. We often get friends throw things on our boat. So that's always handy. I'm currently you can see my background. I'm actually in the sailing club library for this live, because we have our boat in the sick bay. We are refitting our masts, and it's quite noisy. There's a lot of work down in the yard. So I've come over here, and hopefully I won't be hassled for the next 10 minutes. And we're based in Perth, Western Australia. So whereabouts are you based?
Oh,
Would you
right.
like to share that with everyone?
Yes, of course. So we are in Greece currently. We're in Corfu, this little beautiful island of Corfu on the Ionian Sea. So we're probably around 6 hours ahead of you. So it's right now midday here. And we're in a port. It's a beautiful fortress, actually, Venetian fortress.
I think you're actually...
Yeah?
I know, I'm kind of admiring your view from you've got these lovely books to look at, but there's lots of knowledge in this library, and you've got this incredible view. I'm a little bit jealous that you're in Greece, I have to admit. That's very exciting. Where we're based in Western Australia can be quite windy. It's Western Australia is known as the windy coastline, or wait a while. So if you want to sail this coastline, a weather window is not just 1 or 2 days, it can be 2 or 3 weeks. So wait a while. So if you come to Western Australia to sail, and I've given you that tip, your weather windows are 3 weeks. So all right, we have a couple of couple of questions to ask you. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to do this with you is because you're a sailing family, you have a dog on board, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me, that you can sail with basically a baby and a dog.
It's incredible. A horse, actually. Some people call him a horse or a pony.
And a horse. You've had some experience with crew, both positive and negative, and I'd absolutely love to hear how that's worked out for you, and how Saily was actually born, and what you can share with our audience.
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we started that not that long ago. Basically, we found ourselves a little bit over busy. Like we love sailing, and it's such a great
overwhelmed
with everything. We just thought, it would be great to have somebody else on board with us, and not only help us out, but also to share every day, with somebody else, and just invite somebody to our family. And we started looking, and obviously it's a process. It takes a little bit of time to get the right person. So we started with some apps, but we're not that happy. So to be honest, we're not happy. They're not that user friendly, I guess, for me at least. And so it didn't, and then we get the right people. They're either super professional, or like some
or people applying for, I want to spend the weekend or something.
Which were also not very great. And then we like checked some Facebook pages, which was actually super helpful. But then again, like, a lot of messages end up in spam. So that's very difficult then later to like connect with people, because half of the message actually I saw them like 2 or 3 months later. So it's not that great, and there's a lot of back and forth. So we're like, both of us, we actually have an IT background and like a lot of IT projects that we've done before, and we thought, why don't we just like do something super cool for the community and like start building an app that will help not only us but like other people as well. And so we brainstormed this idea with a lot of like sailors out there, and like everybody was like super excited, and everybody was like, yeah, you have to do that, like it's absolutely brilliant, like we will definitely use it, like if you do it, like we'll definitely be on board. So we're super psyched, and right now it's in the finishing stages. We started like just talking with people about it more. Now we're more on Instagram and trying to like spread the word. But I think that we're getting a lot of nice feedback, and things are going well. We're hoping that it's going to be...
The feedback is good because we have our ideas, but it's better to get a wider audience, let's say, that gives us information of what it's really what other people want too, because everybody's very specific on how they search for somebody and so on, and it's a bit like you said before. We're inviting people in our family, so I'm sure that happens in most of the cases when you have somebody on board, and there's no really big boat in any case, and it's a small space. It's at the end you end up on top of each other, and you live together, you eat, drink, and so on. So it's important to be able to find somebody that you click and that can be part of your family.
So that's about it.
I mean, I think what really drew me to your story was that Paul and I, when our children were little, we actually used to hire au pairs in. I don't know if that's how you say it over in Poland. Australians say it a little bit differently, but we basically hired in nannies to help us while we were both working full time. And I know that process of trying to recruit any sort of crew member into a family is extremely challenging. We had some amazing nannies. Our best were actually a lovely couple of girls from Germany that came and spent time with us. But when it has been really challenging for us, and I know it's something we'd love to do, especially for passages across the Indian Ocean, or if we want to travel to the South Pacific and things like that. And so your app and your idea really got my attention, because I know that for 6 years of sailing, I've been sort of looking around for what we could find, and I couldn't see anything. And that's why I absolutely love that you've taken this initiative, and I got behind you and I said, let's have a chat about it. Let's share it with all these amazing people, because there is such a need for it. And, I know I've asked you a lot of questions, and so some of those questions I asked was like, how are you going to vet people? And I know that's still a work in the process, and that's fine. But this is a really good opportunity for anyone who sees this to provide some feedback on what you would really like to see as options in sailing, and get behind this amazing couple who have actually taken an idea and are now developing it.
Yeah, actually, it is important to say that this is, we're doing it completely pro bono. Like, we're not expecting to make any money out of it. We're just basically want to, maybe in the future, hopefully, if there's, enough people on it, there's going to be high server costs and stuff like that. Maybe we have like a small fee somewhere there hidden for like extra features or something. But basically, it's a community app, and we just want to have like something that is useful and something that's built by the community. So we just want your feedback, guys. And like, we really appreciate any ideas, any feedback, any features that you'd like to see in the app, because in the end, like, you're going to be using it, you're going to be needing it, and it has to be useful for you. So we might find some features useful, and then you look at it and that's not what I want. So if you have like any ideas, any questions or suggestions for us, like, please like contact us. We're happy to talk with you. Definitely. Yeah,
and right now it's a very good time, because we're putting things. We've collected quite a bit of information already from everybody, and we're already in a final development stage. But it is the moment that if we are going to plan ahead for things that people
Yeah.
really require that we haven't already put
Yeah.
in. I think it's a very good moment to let us
Pitch
know.
in, yeah.
To pitch in and so on.
I mean,
Be
I'd
part of-
absolutely love. I'd love to know where this idea came from. You've had a look around. There was a shortage of this service out there, this app out there. But I'd love to hear about your best experience with a crew, but also maybe, without naming names, maybe a worst experience, and also to share that with the community. You know, what's gone really well with you. What's been great. What has been a great crew member to have on board, and what maybe has not made a great crew member without
Okay.
rocking the boat.
That's an excellent question. I think that, to be honest, we've been extremely lucky so far, like fingers crossed. So I think that the best crew for us is a crew that is not afraid to do stuff. Like basically a person who is outgoing, but also like so far we've had like crew that were just like, willing to do things and go an extra mile. Just not just doing the minimum, but basically sailing is great, but sailing is also a lot of work. Yes, you probably know. So you have to have a person that's just...
And how much time do you really spend?
Sorry, you're...
Yeah, okay. So how much time do you actually spend breaking up? I'll ask the question again. Good old broadband. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so how much time realistically is actually spent sailing versus being docked and doing boat chores? I think when someone joins as crew, they often think that they're out there sailing, all the time. But as you and I both know, sailing might only be 10 or 20% of the time, and the rest is lots of boat work. So what's your experience there?
Fully is the same. I think it's for every cruiser. It's like that.
Yeah, but not only boat work, but we like, for example, to spend time in one place, and get to know the place, get to know the local people, have a bit of a intake the culture and so on. So we like to find a protected place, not necessarily a port. It can be on anchor somewhere, in a protected bay
smiley
or so.
Anchor.
Yeah. And we spend time there in general. So that also, who's ever joined us, that gives them the opportunity also to be in different places, meet new people. So it's not only
not the actual sailing, which is also part of it, but as you say, there's like other things to do. Like there's obviously port works, and there's things that errands that you have to do, and then it's basically you have to be up for it. You have to you have to have a bit of a thicker skin when you're a sailor, I think. And so it's one thing, and the other thing, I guess, is super important. You asked us about the worst experience. I wouldn't call it the worst experience because it wasn't bad at all.
No, but I think it's the only negative.
Not negative, but maybe just like a bit of a lesson learned. So we invited this amazing girl aboard, and she was very keen. She was very eager, and wonderful person. However, very quickly it became apparent that she's getting extremely seasick. But we were in a port at the time. Actually, this port is here.
That is a really, really, really good point.
Yeah, and so after a few days, it was relatively calm. Actually, there was almost no wind, and she was just getting very, very sick. Being there in a port. So it wasn't comfortable for her. She did not know that she would get so seasick before. Like she was joining with a lot of positive energy.
She really wanted to do it and everything, but after a certain amount of time, she was sick all the time, and we all get seasick at some point.
We all do, but I guess
we know how it is. So imagine if you're like that constantly. So obviously.
So it has to be within reasons, I guess if you have that issue, you should probably. I don't know. You should probably not apply to be a crew.
but a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, people don't know.
Well, I have a few tips on that. Actually, we're talking about sharing some tips on all of that. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So I have a few tips for crew here. If you are thinking of joining a crew and you don't know if you're going to be seasick, some really simple things you can do is dehydration is a huge factor in seasickness. And I know we go on and on about this, but in the 3 or 4 days leading up to being on board, if you drink a lot of water and up your vitamin C, so actually go take some vitamin C tablets, that's an excellent way just to prepare your body. On top of that, if you spend a night or two on board in the anchorage you're in to get used to the movement, so your balance can adjust and things like that, that's the second thing you can do before you actually go off and actively sail. What we find with crew is they'll often jump on board and will leave straight away. And if someone hasn't sailed before, they can get violently seasick. So just getting your body used to it, drinking water, vitamin C, and then spending a night or two on board the vessel before you are actually actively sailing, there's some provide to you, and they're really helpful tips. So it can be the difference between wanting to throw yourself off the boat and staying on board. So.
Yeah, but to be honest, like, it happens to all of us.
So, and we take it for granted.
I haven't met a person who's never been seasick. I think that it hits everybody at some point.
And I think it's a very good tip. The first few days are when your body adjusts. So you need, between 2 days and a week, let's say. But the first week, let's say, is when your body adjusts. And then after that, you should, have the movement already.
Absolutely.
Down.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's...
Well, I have an interesting fact to share with you. I get violently car sick and I don't get boat sick.
Oh, wow.
So go figure. I was so I get so violently car sick that on my honeymoon with my husband, we went over to New Zealand, and I was so sick I had to medicate the entire week, and I slept on my whole honeymoon while he drove around New Zealand on his own. So when he suggested a sailboat to move on board with, I was petrified, absolutely petrified. But if you're someone who suffers sickness from cars, you may not be boat sick. So there you go. Yeah, so little fun fact about me: don't take me on any rolly hills.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in general, like we were talking about, being again about crew and what people usually think about sailing is not exactly what sailing is, as you mentioned. So there's like lots of things that you can do being crew. So sometimes like people potentially they want to join a sailing family or a liveaboard or somebody who's just doing trips. And they have this expectation of just being on the water, like sailing hardcore, like 24/7, without stopping. It's not exactly that. It's a different.
Rarely happens unless you're moving a boat from place to another.
Yeah, and there's the weather factor that that you always have to live with the weather. Like whatever weather condition allows you to do, that's what you do.
Oh my goodness. I 100% agree. The weather drives every single impact of life on board. It decides when you do the grocery shopping. It decides when you have a shower sometimes, when you go to shore, when you want to go visit another vessel. Sometimes you just completely abandon that idea because no one wants to get in the dinghy. We plan our life around the weather. And so if you're thinking of becoming a crew member, another really great tip is actually get familiar with the weather apps and wind apps that we use. So what do you use on board? Maybe you'd like to share that for any possible crew members.
Yeah, we use Predict Wind, and basically it's very good. They have like the free version that anybody can use, since you mentioned anybody can get used to, which is very complete. And then you have the more pro options that you pay for, but anybody can just download the app, and it is very good, the free version that they have, and the weather models and so on. That being said, in my experience, no weather forecast is really accurate. Sometimes they're very close, but sometimes it can say that there's no wind and you have 40 knots of wind, or vice versa.
And it happens. It happens often.
Yeah.
So, like Dawn.
Wow, that's a big discrepancy.
Yes,
No, but
40 knots and no wind. That's I wouldn't want
it happened to us, especially here in the Meds. That here the weather forecasts are very unpredictable. So
in Greece, it depends on the time of year, but there are some weather. Let's say there's a lot of wind on many occasions, and there's squalls that come in and out, and it's
completely out of the blue. So you wouldn't expect anything. The weather says like 0 wind. All the forecasts that you look at, and suddenly there's like 50 knots of wind. So it happens here a lot.
Another important tip, find the names of the winds wherever you go. So because you'll be hearing them.
Yeah,
often,
they speak with you all the time.
Yeah, that's 100% right, especially if you're traveling to become a crew member. So yeah, get familiar with Predict Wind. I totally agree. We absolutely love that. We use it all the time. We use a free version when we're in port for long periods of time, and we use the paid version because it's quite expensive when we're actually sailing from port to port or anchorage to anchorage. So that's a lot of fun. But yeah, back to Crew on Board. I guess the borders have made it a little bit challenging with maybe crew traveling at the moment. So I guess I was thinking about your app, and it would be so great to be able to filter by maybe country and maybe even by state. It was just my feedback to you right now after everything we've been talking about. I think it'd be great to have a filter option because I think these borders may be a little bit challenging for the next year, and we want to see you all out there sailing and on the water, and we don't want you to be scared to crew. So having that filter option where you can sail locally and join a local boat is absolutely, I think, will be really key. So I'm just throwing it at you. No pressure, guys. Just throwing you a filter option there.
No, we love that.
I want to come join this crew.
It's a very good idea. Definitely.
What about can we just swap? You come to Australia and we'll come over to Greece and we'll just swap boats for a while. That sounds good to me.
I think Kasia would love that because she's really keen on the going to Australia. So.
Yeah, it's always been my dream, so definitely. We're going down there eventually. Eventually we're going to make it, but I think it's a little bit far right now, so we still need to cross the Atlantic first. That's the plan. And then, stick around a little bit there, and then hopefully cross the Pacific at one point.
Let's see. Let's see. It's a plan, but also
it's more of an idea for now.
Yeah.
I guess it's not a plan yet.
Well, there's a really good saying that for sailors that all of your plans are written in sand. So it's never been truer on a boat. We change our plans day to day, week to week. So I think that's really important for crew to know that we can try and be somewhere, but we can't tell you the day we're going to be there. It could be 3 months later. So
fully.
Yeah, that's probably good in managing expectations. Crew on board. I was very frustrated when I first moved on board. I wanted to go and spend Christmas down south with my family, and that means upwind sailing. And Paul was just like, no, that's not going to happen. We have to wait for the wind so that we're sailing on a reach. We don't want to be beating up wind for 3 days. It's terrible. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, a basic sailing class will teach you all about upwind and downwind sailing. So I would recommend, if you're thinking of crewing, that's a great thing to do before you just you're welcome to come and learn on your feet. But sometimes if you want to be out there helping, it's always good to have a little bit of understanding of all this new lingo. So I'd love to know how do you work with the layout on your boat? Because obviously every boat is laid out a little bit differently. So if someone was having a crew member on board, what do you think from your experience having crew on board would be an ideal layout option? How can someone set up their boat to make sure that they have their privacy, but the crew member also can enjoy that whole experience?
I think it really depends on many factors.
Right, I'm throwing you a curveball here.
It depends on many factors. So obviously it depends on how you like to do things, how you're comfortable having somebody living with you. So there are some people who, they're perfectly fine, with somebody sleeping on the sofa all the time, and so on, and
or that person comfortable
or
sleeping
the
on the
person
sofa.
coming. That's what I was going to say. Or the person coming, it has to be comfortable in that environment. So for us personally, we definitely like our comfort. So we do need to have a cabin for the person that comes, so that they have their own space, and
Yep.
and they feel comfortable, and we're not, even though we are on top of each other because there's a small space, but they
You're
still
always
have,
on top of each other. And, like,
still
we have a
have their own.
catamaran, but even though there's two halls, like we're still on top of each other, and that's
Yeah.
fine. That's why it's so important. The actual the process of finding the right person. There has to be chemistry. There has to be a bit of a good feeling.
Yeah.
Because in the end, like if you don't have that right from the start, then it's just not gonna go well. Because eventually, being in a very, very small space, things come up very quickly. You either like go, it goes very well, very, very good, or it just goes wrong with that person who you're sharing with.
Yeah, but it's both ways. So the person needs to like us too, because
of course.
it has to be something that it's not only one way. So it has to be really there has to be chemistry there, and sort of it has to be a click that we're.
Yeah.
That
So back to your question, I guess like the setup. I guess everybody has a different idea about how to do things. Our idea is always to have a cabin for crew, so they feel homely, so they feel like if they need a little bit of space for themselves, just to like have their a little bit of a me time, that's perfectly fine. They can do it, and because it's not like a you're not always.
I would
So they can just go for a walk, like it's different. Yeah.
Look, I would actually agree with you 100%. I think if you're a boat owner and you're looking to have crew on board, it doesn't need to be a huge space, even if it's just a forward bunk.
Exactly.
And a tip that I have to give you is to make sure that you could use something down, and instead of hiding under your doona, you can just clip up your lee cloth or shut a door. Those simple things can really help you if you're on board in a small space and you just need to have a little bit of time to yourself. And everything. Yeah, I just think that's great. I would say it's quite important. A lot of people that I know who sail are quite into racing, and the crew literally sleep on the floor, or there's 5 of them in a V-berth. But I think that's not sustainable when you're sailing with a family. I think when you've got children or even dogs on board, having that one little space, and it doesn't have to be big, that you can just go to is quite handy. Yeah. But like you said, it comes down to the owners of the boat and the type of crew member on board, and everyone will find their perfect match. And I think what we're hoping with Saily when it comes out is to be able to see that, to be able to filter those searches so that crew can find the perfect boat and the boat can find the perfect crew. And I'm really excited to see what you're going to be doing. So I think it's going to be a fantastic contribution to the sailing community. We're really excited.
Yeah, when you mentioned about filters, this is super important. Like we when we're looking for crew, this is something that we're like missing, that particular thing, because in the end, like you spend so much time filtering in like in the messages and on all the back and forth. It just takes too much time. If you can just like filter the things that are important for you, that's just like already, I don't know, half of the time that you're spending on finding that person.
No, and you have a much better probability of finding somebody that will click with you and that will click with them.
Yes. So but then, having said that, I think that for both for crew and for boaters, like it's good to be open-minded. Like sometimes don't filter too much. Like sometimes be open for maybe potentially if you're a crew and you're thinking of you just want to, you say you've always been like doing, let's say, just passages, but like right now you found this great opportunity to do something completely different. For example, doing like, I don't know, island hopping or just being in one place, but you still want to sail. Don't close up yourself with just one type of sailing experience, do something different. Or if you did like, I don't know, just you're a cook before on a boat, and potentially right now it would be good to try something different. And like, and same for the boaters. Like if you want to look for a particular kind of person, it's good. But potentially if you're looking only like in one region, let's say you're from Australia and you just want to get a crew, you potentially for you it would be natural to start looking in the Australia region and in that part of the world. But actually, we were a bit like that. We thought, we have to look in Europe because that's easier for, like, right now in COVID, it's just so much easier if somebody's in Europe to find a person. But we realized that it is actually, COVID is not an issue because, a person from California joined us.
Yeah.
And in 2 weeks she was here.
Yeah, and she spent 2.5 months with us. And,
and I had no idea, like, that would be even possible. I wasn't even looking in that area, like, but she reached out to us, and she was great, and so
that's amazing.
So I think the thing is that don't close up yourself too much. Like, it's good to be filtering and like have a rough idea, but like also like try to be open minded, and I think that's a good tip. For both sides.
I would 100% second that.
Mm.
The best help we've ever had has been from Germany, well outside, and probably the crew members that not crew members, but the nannies that we had to help us out when we were preparing for boat life that we got locally were a little bit more challenging. So we really enjoyed a multicultural experience that added a lot of value to our life and added a lot of value to our children's lives. And we will be so excited to, on our longer passages, definitely use your app to get some crew. So I'm a little bit biased that I might be slightly invested in this for myself because, like you said, there's not a lot out there. So
yeah.
So I think it's fantastic, and I'm so happy. But I want to leave on a fun note, because we'd love to know more about you as well and who you are, so we can connect with you. So I would love to know what your probably best sailing experience has been, and it can be out on the water, it could be in a marina, it could be a cultural experience, and probably what has been your worst. So give us a best and a worst. You can have a minute to think about it. What really, when you think of your experience of time on board, what has been fantastic and what has been challenging?
Yeah, there's like a lot of stories.
The fantastic is very difficult to choose.
There's so many like every day. Sure, every day is fantastic. Like living on a boat is really something that everybody should eventually.
Like we've talked about it, but we don't know how to go back.
I think we will never be able to go back to a land life, a normal life, as people would call it. I think that every day brings something new. For me personally, I think that like the best moment, it's not the best, but like the moment when I felt like this is it, was like when because before we had another boat, we had a monohull, and we switched to this boat last November. And I think our first passage from Croatia to Italy, for me, it was like, this is it. Like, we're doing it. This is our new thing. We're like the first time. It was the first passage with the whole family on board. So both with our little daughter and the dog, and we just, I felt like complete. This is it. We're starting our new chapter, and I felt like proud of ourselves and like extremely fulfilled and like ready for
even when we had those big waves. And
it doesn't matter. Like at the time, I was like really, really happy and like just thrilled.
You're almost selling me a catamaran here. You need to stop.
Shall we so which model?
That's a whole rocky topic, that one.
That's a whole new app right there.
Yeah, yes, a whole new app.
No.
Just don't tell me. Like I said, I can go, but your sailing experiences. Look, I've sailed catamarans as well, and on that topic, I would say to you that I had more fun sailing a catamaran, especially this year. I actually did a course, and I went off from my family and I did some cruising without my husband and kids. That sounds terribly selfish, but it was actually just to build my skill set up. because I don't know about you, but when you're a couple on board and you've got a dog or children, often one of you is attending to the dog or the children and is often fending for many hours on deck by themselves. And I didn't get a lot of opportunity to maybe build those skill sets up over the last 5 years. So I took myself off and completed an offshore course and did a 400 nautical mile sail, which was heaps of fun. And I've come back a much better crew member and just so much more calm and confident. So it was a fantastic experience. But it was on a catamaran. So I came back with a very different experience to sailing on my monohull. Let's leave it at that.
The best thing about a catamaran, we're not selling catamarans here, but the best thing is that you can put your glass or your cup on the table.
Yeah.